Hello, this is Jed Brewer with Below the Line Club and Study Groups. Very nice to have you on the call today. Excited for our topic, which is brand and loyalty. So as the industry continues to evolve, having a brand that catches people's attention is certainly very important for us. And then also creating that loyalty. And brand and loyalty are actually fairly intertwined with each other. And so we're going to be diving into that a little bit more in detail today. Really pleased to have two experts on the topic. One is Mike Lawshe, who's president of Paragon Solutions out of Texas. But Mike's firm helps people develop their brands, store design, color palettes and templates, and as well as the flow of the store. So it has a really keen insight into what makes a successful brand, from the hard things as the flow to much more softer things in terms of what message resonates with customers. And then second, we'll have Mark Lotstein, who's president of ROG Consulting, and talk a little bit more about best-in-class loyalty programs, what we need to do to really execute it. We have a lot of folks with loyalty programs out there, and I think people have mixed results. For some folks, it really engages the customer, and other people, it can be a little bit lackluster, feel clunky. So Mark's going to give us some good insight into what is going to move the needle for us in terms of our loyalty programs. So want this to be very educational for you. If you have any questions, please type them into the dialog box in the GoToWebinar framework. I'll be able to see those questions, and I'll relay them to either Mike or Mark at the appropriate time on your behalf. And also the presentations and the recording of this will be made available to you afterwards as well, if you want to review the slides or share it with a colleague. So with that brief introduction, Mike Lawshe, let's turn it over to you at Paragon Solutions to talk with us a little bit about brand, like embracing authenticity. You're going to bring up this concept of what is your North Star and how do we design to be the original in our marketplace.
Well, Judge, you just stole all my thunder. That's all I've got. Mine is done, I guess. But let me see what I can do.
Well, sounds great. Yeah, we look forward to it.
There we go. All right, so good afternoon. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Mike Lawshe. I've been doing this for a while. We founded Paragon about 36 years ago. And you know, brand and building a brand is a lot more complex than most people give it credit for. So, and today I want to talk about three things: getting your brand established, your brand loyalty established, keeping your customers loyal, and staying relevant. And I think they're all three intertwined, with staying relevant being the key term today. I want you to think about that as we go forth. So getting it, I just wrote an article. It was published in Convenience Store, CSP rather, and it was based on brand. And I used an example, the three passings here recently of John Madden, Yogi Berra, and Betty White. And I looked at each one of them as a brand. I know that sounds funny at first, but you know, John Madden was a brand. You know, whether it be the gamer or the Monday Night Football or the coach, he was a brand. And what made him different than everyone else? What made him stand out? Well, it wasn't, you know, that he was the best dressed. It wasn't that he was the most knowledgeable or the most articulate, not by a long shot. But he was authentic. He was who he was. He was absolutely lovable. He was knowledgeable, even though sometimes it came out in some crazy ways. So John Madden was one of the most recognizable figures in all of sports, and certainly all of football. You know,
I always remember Mike for his turducken that he would do during Thanksgiving and coining the phrase "doink" as well. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he was so quotable. You know, I threw a couple quotes into the article, and one of them was, "I always used to tell my players that we are here to win. And you know what, Al? When you don't win, you lose." I mean, how can you argue with that kind of knowledge base, right? But the whole thing that I'm saying here is you don't have to necessarily, you know, be the prettiest. Just be yourself. Be the best that you can be. And that's the beginning of establishing a brand. So what we're going to talk about is, you establish the brand, but keeping it, I think, is staying relevant, staying true to yourself, and continuing to remind your people, from the newest employee to the most senior employee, what it means, what your brand means, and what it represents. So you look at groups like Starbucks or Disney or Walmart or Mercedes-Benz. What do they all have in common? I think what they do is an excellent job of communicating their standards, communicating who they are, whether it's the happiest place in the earth, or in the case of Mercedes-Benz, that luxury. And they do it every year, and they stay relevant every year. So they're always pointing to what makes them unique. Starbucks with their overpriced coffee, if you will, and Mercedes-Benz with their overpriced cars. So it's not always about being the cheapest. It's not always about, quote, value. It's about being who you are, being true to the quality that you offer, and staying relevant. Amazon's a great example of that, and they continue to change. I love the AWS and some of the new ancillary things that they're doing. And they started as, a book distributor, right? Books by mail, and look where they're at now. But they stayed true to that principle, that guiding principle. And that's what we're going to come back to here in just a minute. So my challenge to you is, what is your North Star? What is the single thing within your company that you point to, that everything points to? And I'm not just talking about the name or about the logo or about the design in the store, but what do your people stand for? What are your guiding principles? To me, your guiding principles point to the North Star. The key attributes within your stores, within your company, point towards those guiding principles. And then the differentiators, the key differentiators, what do you do differently than your competitors, points upward as well. I saw an article, I think it was Quick Trip. It was written up, I think it was on Facebook actually, where one of their employees was, quote, caught tying the shoes of an elderly gentleman out in front of the store because he needed help. And so he was caught doing what Quick Trip is all about, helping people. It absolutely pointed to their North Star, and it was consistent with their guiding principles. So brand is more than just a logo. Brand is more than just what you put on the front door. Your brand is what you stand for. It's how you're recognized. It's how you separate yourself from your competition. At Paragon, we definitely have a brand statement, and for us, it's design done right. Now, for us, that doesn't mean that we're the cheapest. I know a bunch of you are saying, oh, you're damn right, he's not the cheapest. And it doesn't mean that we're the fastest. But when we work on a project, it is design done right. We take the right amount of time and we work through it. And that's our guiding principle. So anytime we veer off of that, now we have an issue because we're not pointing to our own North Star. So our North Star is design done right. And we have a process that guides us through. And this key, I'm not going to get into it. This is not a shameless plug. What I'm trying to share here is that we abide by all the things that I'm talking about when it comes to brand. Paragon, the word itself, means a model of excellence, or the ultimate. And so we abide by that. For us, design and branding is taking it to a different level. So finally, staying relevant. How many times do you see out there names like, and if I actually call out your name, it's not because I know where you're at, but Quick Mart, Express Mart, things that to me just scream 1980s. And there's a ton of those out there. So is that really staying relevant? A wonderful example for me was I was with a customer and we were talking about building a brand. We were talking about creating a new brand. And I looked around the room and it was all a bunch of 50-year-old white dudes. Now, there's nothing wrong with 50-year-old white dudes. But in this case, I was asking them, how are we around this table going to establish a brand? How are we going to do it when we don't have the perspective? We need diversity. We need diversity in age, religion, sex, everything else. So I think it's important that we stay relevant, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. When it comes to brand loyalty, consumers will abandon brands that don't support their new values and will pay more to those that do. I think that's true in the case of Starbucks, in the case of Mercedes, in the case of Amazon. Every one of them, people are paying a premium to buy from those brands. So I think it's really important that we understand that it's not always about price, but it is about taking advantage of that brand loyalty, building the brand loyalty, and then taking advantage of it. So the questions I want you to ask yourself when, after this presentation, is your brand identity still relevant? Has it changed? Does it speak to the next generation? So, when you get back to your office and you've got a variety of people, not a bunch of 50-year-old white dudes, but when you've got a variety of people, ask that question. Does this brand speak to all ages? Does this speak to what's happening today versus what was happening in, 1970, 80, 90? And that's important. So does your brand resonate with your target customer? Well, first you got to ask the question, who's your target customer? And, we all have this great dream of our target customer being everyone, right? So that's diversity. That's looking at a lot of different targets, a lot of different demographics. And does your brand resonate with all of them? It's a question. I don't have the answer yet. Is it still aligned with your current value proposition? And does it help you stand out from your competitors? Now, these are big, bold questions that you're not going to be able to answer right away, but I think they are worth really delving into. They are worth, digging deeper and trying to establish, are we as good as we could be when it comes to our brand? And the brand, feeds into that loyalty and that relevance on an ongoing basis. There are so many great examples of companies that have realized that, for whatever reason, it could be through acquisition or other things, that their current brand was not doing what it needed to do. Philip Morris to Altria. Facebook, the biggest name out there, is now Meta, or at least the division is Meta. And Enmark, out of Savannah, Georgia, is now in market. So what I wanted to do was to explore the last one because it's in our industry. Some of you are very familiar with Enmarket, but I just wanted to share the journey. I wanted to share the story. And the challenge here was that Enmark, which was their name, really felt that they were, not relevant anymore. And so they challenged Paragon to come in and to really evaluate who they are, where they were going. This is what they look like. And Paragon was proud to do this design back in 1993. So in 1993, it was awesome. I mean, it got written up in the trades and all that good stuff. But come 2013, it still looked like a 1993 store. And so the challenge was, how can we be relevant again? How can we take it to the next step? It's different for every customer, whether there's a name change or whether there's a color change or a logo change. But the first thing you do is you analyze what's there. And that's exactly what we did. We looked at the name and logo. We looked at the prototypes. We looked at their food service. We looked at all the elements within their store. And we asked them, what do you want us to do? And they said, well, look at all of it. So they gave us a lot of freedom to challenge the norm, if you will. So the first thing we did was we took Enmark and we expanded it to Enmarket. Everything about the connotation of this logo is different, from the color combination to the type font to the green leaf. Everything here says we are now a food-centric company. We are no longer the gas-centric company on the left. And so that's the challenge that I'm asking you to do, is to look inside, whether it be you personally or bring someone in to do it. Look at yourself and say, are we still relevant? Are we still communicating what we want to communicate? That's always the challenge, and it's very hard sometimes to self-analyze. So in this case, Market was born in 2014, I think it was. We came up with the tagline, Fresh Choices, Friendly Faces. But that was really just the beginning. Now we've got to take that brand, because this is the mark, right? The brand is everything. The brand is all the ways that you communicate to your consumer. The brand is how you're recognized by the consumer. So we had a lot of work to do. And, you know, the first thing we did was look at the prototype store, and yeah, we did site plans and we did layouts that are now very food centric versus, you know, the gas centric. We brought that into the elevations inside and outside, and the result was pretty spectacular. The result is, wow, okay, I would eat there. The result is, wow, a drive-through for a convenience store. Yeah, I would pick up food there. And you know, with COVID, the idea of drive-through, pickup, curbside, all these things is become incredibly relevant. Well, and Market embraced it back in 2014. And when you look at, you know, from the colors that are chosen to the logos to the way it's presented throughout the store, it's quite a marked difference from the old Mark stores. So in the case of Market, you know, they changed everything so that they could be relevant. And if you were to go to their customers now, none of them call it Mark anymore. They all call it Market, and they all have good things to say about it because they are true to their brand. They are true. Their North Star is food-centric convenience, and they are very food-centric. They're made to order, wonderful programs, clean stores. They do it, and they do it right. So very proud of the results in this particular case. And there's a process that we go through to get to that finish line, if you will. It doesn't happen by accident, and it's not just doing some, you know, pretty pictures or throwing some graphics on a wall. It really is establishing that hierarchy of the North Star and everything pointing to the North Star, and really understanding what separates you from your competition. I love the pops of green in there. We were very fortunate and humbled to win the best original design in 2019, the last time Convenience Store News had their contest. But again, the brand just starts with the store. Now what are you doing with packaging, with private label, growlers? Are you carrying it down to the beverages, or are you letting some of the beverage companies put their logos in there and steal your thunder? You know, the challenge here is to take it all the way through and to remind customers at every point who you are, what you stand for, and what your North Star is. In their case, it was very food-centric, and it carried all the way through the store. Even some of the ancillary profit centers, the car wash, we brought in Market Wash instead of, I mean, how many times have you seen car wash out there? It's terrible. It's a very great branding opportunity to tie it to your brand and to tie it to your North Star. So in this case, we did. That's exactly what we did. And the Market Wash ties very clearly back to the Market. And even if you're going private label, which a lot of you are, you know, we can help with creating that brand identity and how that's reflected in the store, from the pumps to the canopy to the other ancillary signage. So again, the net result is incredibly positive and very successful. And they've done, I don't know how many stores, dozens and dozens of stores since we did this, and they converted all their existing ones. So Mark's going to talk about a lot of things like loyalty programs and other things that take this to a whole nother level. And it's important where you start with that mark, you start with that name, the brand, and the way you're communicating, and you carry it through consistently throughout the entire store, whether it's billboards or private label water, some of your other items, you know, refill cups, cash cards, etc. There's so many ways that you communicate. Going all the way back to what we said at the very beginning with that Quick Trip employee, it starts with your people, but it finishes with you. And if you look at that billboard, experience the new Market. They did a fantastic job of embracing the new name. And it's so much more than just putting a name across the door. It is it's everything. It's the culture. It's the way you communicate. So here's my challenge to everyone on this call. First thing that I would do is get a third-party evaluation and assessment. Now, it could be a company like Paragon, or there are so many companies that do focus groups that do analytics. But it's important that you don't have tunnel vision, that you're not so consumed with understanding with who you are that you don't look at it independently. So a third-party evaluation is very important. So within that third-party evaluation, really look at your customer brand experience and research that. And what do the people think and feel when they see your brand? What do they think and feel when they walk in your store? What do they think and feel when they walk out of your store? Now, these are really important. Same time, we absolutely want you as the stakeholders to have the same input, because what we're looking at is whether those two are aligned. Does the consumer see the same store that you see? And it's been my experience that no, you really don't. And it's not that it's total opposite, but what it does is it gives you opportunities to improve. It gives you opportunities to do something more. So now that you've got this research, now that you've got this information, redefine. I say define here, but I want to redefine what your brand promise is. So your brand promise is really that guiding star, that North Star that we talked about. And so you've got that, and everything's supposed to be pointing to that. But we have to really define it out. I did a presentation at NACS, and Freshies, Robert with Freshies was my guest on the speech. And so he talked about promise training, where it starts from the first time his people come on board. And every year they have a continuous promise training where they learn not only what the promise is, but how to execute it. And that's really interesting, because I think we assume when we hire a new employee that they all know what our brand promise is. Well, how do they know? Do you give them a book, or do you train them, or do you work with them? How far do you take it? The other thing I ask is that you be open and objective, and that you really let this process take its own course. And if you're open and objective, then there will be great things that come out of it. What's going to come out of it is a clear outline of your brand strategy. And once you have that clear outline, now we can take bold steps, based on all this sound data, based on all this research, based on all these analytics, we can take bold steps to go forward, not just sideways, and in some cases backwards. Because I'll bet each one on this call $100 that you are not the same company you were a year ago. You're better than that. You're not the same company that you were 5 years ago. You're much better than that. And so how are you communicating that? So I just want $100 from all of you. This has been a very profitable opportunity to speak to you all, and I really do appreciate that. But seriously, if you take these action steps, you won't regret it. It will be the guiding light to get you to your own North Star. So with that, I'm going to pass the baton, as it were, to Mr. Lotstein.
Yep. Mike, a couple quick questions for you before we move on to Mark. But you talked in one of your 4 bullet points at the beginning about brand, and you said, is your brand aligned with your current value proposition? Can you elaborate a little bit more on that, maybe in the context of end market and how they aligned it with their current value proposition?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the big thing for end market is they felt like they looked like a gas station, and yet they were doing some great food. They were doing made-to-order food, and for them, their value proposition was fresh food, well-made, well-priced, and they were a very food-centric organization. But it didn't align with the visual. The visual was, okay, this is the same old Enmark gas station. It's a good gas station, but it's a gas station, So I get my Coke, Smokes, and Twinkies at Enmark, but I get my great food at Enmarket. So the two were not aligned. And yeah, you can still get your Coke, Smokes, and Twinkies, but it's important that all of this align to your North Star.
Yeah, thank you. And then follow-up question. It's a lot of work, right, to go and re-image, create a new brand, all of that. how long does a typical design or image last for? And is that becoming shorter as our technology and just adaptivity of humans are evolving more quickly? But yeah, how long does that typical image last for? You gave the case of in-market. I think you said 1993 they last did it, and it was 2014 that they re-looked at it. So it was about 20 years for them for their most recent go around.
Well, and I would say that's a problem if you're leaving it on 20 years. But my challenge is that it's not really a one and done. I think you should have a continuous conversation with your customers. And these things, it's more of an evolution. It should almost be seamless as you continue to grow, your brand continues to grow, and the imagery and the positioning continues to grow throughout the life of your company. It's not, okay, we're done with branding, let's wait 20 years or let's wait 5 years. It's really not that simple. I think we change so often in our industry that our brand should be reflective of those changes, which means we should continuously update the brand. Now, that doesn't mean you're doing new logos and names and everything every year. That's not what I'm saying. I think there's subtle things that can be done, throughout the year to stay relevant. And it's all about that relevance. So what are you doing to attract the next generation? What are you doing to attract, it used to be that millennials was the next generation. I guess there's 2 generations after that we have to keep up with. That's the point. You have to continuously update.
Well, thank you, Mike. I really appreciate the insight, and I love that point that you made about what is your North Star, and really focusing on that, those guiding principles, and sharing that for Paragon, and yours is design done right. So good concepts. Well, Mark, let's turn it over to you, Mark Lotstein at ROG Consulting, to talk a little bit about loyalty. And do I need a loyalty program? Do I want a loyalty program? How does it tie in with my brand, et cetera?
Yeah, thank you, Jed. Thank you, Mike. I'm going to open up by saying I never want to go after Mike again, Jed. It will be clearly evident in my presentation that I have nowhere near the visual skills and the graphic skills that Mike has. There is no comparisons with John Madden, Yogi Berra, or Betty White, though I love them all. But hopefully this will still be a very relevant presentation, just less visually appealing.
Hard to follow visually a design company. That's right.
Yeah. I know. Next time I'm going to ask Mike if he can help me with my presentation.
Think how I feel as a dense economist, when I put a slide deck together. But anyway, Mark, go ahead and jump on in.
Sure. I've been in this industry for 25 years in various capacities, and I've seen a lot of the change that we've all seen, obviously. 14 and a half years ago, I started ROG Consulting, and we have a team of consultants, 6 senior consultants right now with anywhere from 15 to 35 years of industry experience, folks that have owned and operated small and mid-sized chains. This presentation should be relevant to folks that have a loyalty program today, those that do not. I want to open up by saying we need to realize that a loyalty program there's no magic wand, there's no one size fits all, nothing cookie cutter about it. Similar to what Mike was talking about, this is something. Sorry, I muted myself by mistake there. This is something that evolves and changes over time. And bear with me as I'm having a problem with my slideshow. There we go. I think one of the first things to address is that I always hear from folks, well, I'm not big enough. I don't have enough stores. That's not the case. The first thing to realize is that there's different types and levels of loyalty program, and it's not something similar to what Mike showed before. There's different levels of branding, and there's different levels that you can take it to. And in some cases, these can be done step by step, bite by bite. The first thing I want to point out is that there is a cigarette and tobacco loyalty programs. Now, there's 2 levels. There's rebate and there's loyalty. So if folks think you're doing it today, you might want to speak with someone in your organization to make sure you're doing the loyalty level. Currently, Altria has a program that you need to sign up for by April 3rd. Otherwise, you'll not be eligible for it. There's a Tier 2 and a Tier 3 program. The Tier 3 program offers a one-time payment of $500 per store and 8.4 cents on every loyalty transaction. I don't have the time today to get into the depth and breadth of this product, but this is a loyalty program. It is not just scan data, and it is something that will truly differentiate yourself from your competition. If you can offer an extra 50 cents or $1 off 2 and 3 packs of cigarettes, people are going to come to your store and not the person across the street or down the road. So again, regardless of 1 store or 500 stores, this is a program you can take advantage of and is a true differentiator in the industry. My belief is that when you get to 5 stores, that's where you're getting into a true loyalty program. Possibly 3, but really it's going to be 5 stores in my opinion. What you're looking for is to increase visits by your existing customers and draw in new customers. And there's been some significant studies done with regard to this. And the fact of the matter is the average convenience store customer goes to somewhere between 3 and 5 different convenience stores on the way to work, on the way home from work, weekends, and otherwise. With a quality loyalty program, those people are going to narrow that down to no more than 2 stores, because it's now worth their while to go out of their way a little bit to come to your stores. We all know people will drive ridiculous distances for 3 and 5 cents off for a gallon of gas. For the life of me, I do not know why. I've never understood it, but it's true. So this is the same concept, and it could be cents off per gallon. It could be cigarette and tobacco discounts, clubs and promotions, programs that are tailored to a store that's, to Mike's comment before, is food centric and doing food related promotions and giveaways and so forth for loyalty members. So again, not one size fits all and different from store to store even. The first point about doing a loyalty program is planning. Again, this is not just something you buy and click into place. Everybody is different, and you need to treat it as any other expansion on your business. And that means defining what the goals of the program are, identifying who you're targeting for the program, benchmarking what is success, and at the end of the day, making sure you're increasing your gross profit margin with vendor support. So again, I think these are your normal business ideas, and people for some reason don't always focus on them when it comes to loyalty. Really important, sit down, figure out what this program is going to be. Are you trying to draw more traffic to the store, increase gallons of gas, bring in more truck drivers, whatever it may be, identify what those goals are, figure out how you define success so that 3 months, 6 months, a year into the program, you can see if you're actually doing what you wanted to do. Too often people just throw a program out there and think it's going to run itself.
Mark, I would, kind of echo that sentiment that you share. I think people develop the program, but what I have heard is it's very challenging for them to figure out, are they succeeding or are they not? Like, they don't even know what to benchmark. Like, what is success? Do you have any insights that you can offer on
Sure.
What is success, or how do you measure it?
And I think, and again, it depends on your market and what your core brand is. If someone's, again, food centric, it's going to be different than if someone's all about the gasoline. So it's different. But what I would suggest is what we do with our clients is pull up all of the different internal data you have today. How many customers come into the store? What is their average spend? What is the market basket that they're buying? How many gallons is the average fill up? How often does, how many transactions are you doing a day? And look at all of that different data that you have today and say, okay, my expectation is I'm going to see more customers. I'm going to see a larger market basket, a dollar purchase. And that's what we're going to look at after the go live. I had a customer count of 1,000 on average. Now I'm up to 1,100. Okay, that wasn't there the month before, and it continues to increase. Okay, once you have a loyalty program started, you're going to see, okay, Mark comes in 3 times a week. Now it's going to increase to 5 times, 7 times. So you'll be able to see all of that information. And again, what you're going to have to base it on initially is the data you have from your back office software and so forth. You can see what your Coke sales are, and when you run a Coke promotion, fill up with 8 gallons at the pump and get a free Coke or Coke Zero, and you can see what that impact is. When you're running, different promotions with Hershey's or Mars or whomever, you'll be able to see the uplift or lack thereof, which will then enable you to target your program better. Did that address the question, Chad?
Yeah, that's helpful. Yeah, if I'm hearing you right, it could be number of customers, number of people on the program, average basket size, trying to differentiate that for your, I guess, loyalty customers from your non-loyalty customers. And hopefully within a customer, you would see that average basket size growing over time for that same customer.
Yeah, and you'll be able to run the report in a loyalty program and then see what your average market basket is from your core back office software, and you'll be able to see the delta difference. Now it comes to creating the loyalty program, and again, it's not one size fits all. There's a lot of things that you need to think about. Points, how many points per dollar? What's the redemption value? What does this do to your bottom line? Is it going to be fuel centric? Are you going to do clubs? What clubs make sense? If you're in a more rural area where you tend to be more of the grocery store, are you going to do a coffee club, a milk club, a water club versus somebody that's maybe on the highway and isn't seeing that same, people aren't coming in there to buy gallons of milk so much. Looking at different promotions, similar to what Mike said about branding, this isn't static. This is something that needs to evolve and change. As you create these different promotions and offerings, you're going to look at them a month after, 2 months after, 3 months after, and see if they're actually bringing in customers. Is it being utilized? And you're going to always want to tweak and change this. You can tie the loyalty programs into food service, into your car wash program. You want to look at direct customer communication. So again, it's really thinking about this program, it's planning for it, it's identifying where you think you're going to get the greatest return on this investment. And again, you might not be right on day one. You might need to continue to look at it and refine it. In fact, you will have to do that. There are multiple loyalty providers out there. And I would suggest, just like with a back office software, don't choose one because a friendly competitor or someone from the study group uses it. Look at the different options that are out there. So there are some true differentiators among them. In some cases, the scan data is not through the loyalty provider. They contract it out to a third party. This can become a problem if the scan data is not flowing effectively or properly. You're not going to get your cigarette and tobacco rebates. From my perspective, I would only want to go with a loyalty provider that does that in-house. Some of them do it white label, others don't. Some require additional equipment. Some don't tie into every piece of POS equipment that we have. Not all of them offer a mobile app or a quality mobile app. If food service is big, can you do online food service ordering and curbside pickup? How's the customer service for this company? So when you have a question or you need help, are they accessible? What is the level or quality of the reporting so you can go back and see if your program is successful? And of course, there's the cost of the program. So again, from my perspective, make sure you look at least 2, if not 3 loyalty providers, get suggestions and ideas from folks in the study group. But again, just because somebody uses one company, I would strongly suggest not just going with them. There are true differences, and you need to make sure you've got the right information and you're matching up with a company because you're a best fit, not just because they're someone that everybody knows. Oops. Bear with me here a second. Vendor participation. Many people don't realize what's available to them. They think they need to do this in-house. They think that the money is all coming out of your pocket. That is not the case. Your clubs and your promotions, you're going to get vendors to give you free, discounted, or scan rebates for various products. They will give you funding. They have marketing dollars that they can provide to help underwrite the cost of the program. And you're going to work with them to develop a promotional calendar so that you can, I'm sorry, that says complete. It's supposed to be compete with other business channels. When it comes to clubs and promotions, we recently worked with a client. We were working with M&M Mars, and they provided us with those life-size M&M figurines, and we used those as a giveaway for customers and used it as a nice promotional marketing piece. They also provided us with a scan rebate. They said, okay, we are going to provide you with this product. It's a newer product we're introducing to the market. If you can sell 2 of our regular bars, we'll give this one for free, and we'll eat this percentage of this many cents on each one of those that you sell. We just need the scan data for it. It was a great win-win for that client. Using M&M Mars again as another example, you may not be aware, but if you approach the right people there and make the right presentation, you could be getting up to 5% of your purchase from the prior year in marketing dollars, above and beyond any type of promotional scans that they're going to give you or any free product. You can get flat out dollar funding from them. So, and if you're spending $100,000 with them, that could be $5,000 to help underwrite the cost of the program. And you can promote them and say, listen, we're going to put your name, your brand, your products on our website, on the mobile app. There's a value to that. You need to work over your vendors to get them to underwrite the significant cost of this program. And it's completely doable. You're going to get money from Coke, from Pepsi, from Mars, from Nestle Water, from whoever it may be. And that's going to be the framework and going to be the underpinning of the program, as well as underwriting a lot of the cost. Mike mentioned this earlier again, and I keep saying that, but it's true. You know, in many cases, it comes down to the staff and the staff training. The folks that are going to push this program and make it successful are going to be the folks in the store. You need your managers to be aware of the program. You need them to train your clerks, and these folks need to be promoting it to customers. When someone comes up to the register, are you a loyalty member? If they're not, you know, we've got this great program. Here's some of the special things that we're offering our customers. You know, you get 5 cents off a gallon. There's no cost. Here, there can be a scanned QR code right at the register. The customer scans that and signs up online. If it's someone who's a little bit more old school, you have a little sign-up sheet that you give to them that they can then turn back in at the store or submit online. So again, driving success of the program is going to happen at the store level. We suggest with our clients for at least the first week or two, having some type of special offering for when you first sign up. Give them 100 free points, give them a free 20-ounce water underwritten by the vendor. There's lots of different ways. And the other thing is not just are we training our staff, but we need to incentivize them. We can track with many of the different loyalty programs who is signing folks up, which store is signing folks up. And in that benchmarking or that success comparison, we're going to look at how many new loyalty members each store is signing up. And we can give our employees some type of incentive based on this. And in fact, many of the loyalty programs, you can actually designate a specific loyalty subset for your employees. So think today with that massive turnover we have, with the difficulty of getting and retaining employees, if you could offer your employees every month a $10 or a $20, gas fill up through the loyalty program. If you want to give them an additional promotion, buy one, get the second one free or 50 cents off, you can design an entire incentive program for your staff within an existing loyalty program. And I think that's an amazing opportunity to do something different than your competitors and something that's really going to help you retain employees. There is no such thing as a static loyalty program. It will wither and die on the vine. You need to continue to update it. You need to look at what is working and what is not working. You need to think about things seasonally, water in the summer, coffee in the winter, whatever it may be. Different seasons when you have a higher influx of visitors, whatever it may be. But someone needs to be looking at this program, looking at the utilization of the program, change your promotions, get new deals with vendors, pick Coke versus Pepsi, let them each have different months of the year, but give them the opportunity to offer you new and better deals. Creating new internal and member incentives. Again, it's not static. It needs to be something that gets some time and effort. I'm not saying this is a full-time job in any way, shape, or form, but somebody needs to keep, their eye on the prize and needs to make sure that this doesn't become old and static. Not just at the store level, not just keeping it fresh, but marketing. We need to continue to generate a buzz about this program. We need existing members to know about it. We need to get non-members to know about it so that they become members. I know a lot of folks have done a lot of great work updating websites, but having a loyalty program effectively marketed through a website is very important. Getting it with Yahoo and Google lookups to make sure that you've got the right tie-ins so that it pops up on searches. Making sure there's outside signage, inside signage, utilizing text and email campaigns. There's a lot of opportunities. Social media, Facebook and Instagram. Some folks in this industry have embraced this, others not so much. So again, something that Mike said earlier about getting that diversity, and I'm a 50-something white guy, so I get it, but bringing in your kids, talking to women members of the team, getting somebody from the high school age and the college age group to understand what's really motivating them, what's interesting to them, what do they want, and making sure that you're continuing to hit them, because especially those folks, let's say 35 and under, they're all about repetitive. You need to get in front of them or they're going to forget about you. So making sure that you continue on. And again, it's not a full-time job, but it does require some time and effort. The reporting side of things. And again, you've set your benchmarking initially. You have some ideas. Hopefully your loyalty company can help you with the benchmarking. A company such as ROG can help you with benchmarking. Now you've got a program kicked off, and especially that first 90 to 180 days, we need to look at this on a regular basis. How are we trending? Where are we going? How many signups are we getting? What does it look like store versus store? Okay, now maybe one store is 3 times bigger and has 3 times more customers, so they should have 3 times more signup. We're working with one of our clients in New Hampshire, and what we noticed is that 2 of their stores were lagging far behind, and we needed to speak to those managers. Part of it was they had some employee turnover, so they had new cashiers, weren't really aware of it. Okay, we need to bring these people up to speed, but there's a lot of information that you can get from the reporting. Promotion by promotion utilization. We found out that a couple of the promotions that we thought would be big winners for this client, it didn't happen. They just weren't getting traction. Fair enough. We'll find a different promotion. We actually started reaching out to some of the members in the loyalty program and soliciting their feedback. What is it you'd like to see? What could we do different? And we got some great insight from loyalty members already on board, and we're able to make some significant tweaks to the program. We want to look at redemptions. Overall trending. We were able to see folks that, again, month 1 came in 7 times, and month 2 came in 12 times. We were seeing that trending that we wanted to see, that because of participating in this program, because of getting something extra, they were coming in more frequently. They were buying more product. That's a win. At that point, we can start to benchmark and say, yes, we are hitting our goals. We are making more money. We are retaining our customers more effectively. And again, just comparing it back to your metrics for success. That's really the gist of it. And my big thing that I've said a few times in this presentation is it's about a plan. This is not something you can just throw out there and hope it's going to work. This is not something that you can let sit there. This is something that requires thought, planning, proper rollout, and proper review. And many folks who know ROG know that we built a big part of our business on back office software. And part of the reason that we got into loyalty was not just clients asking for it, but realizing that a loyalty program is very similar to a back office software. You need to plan for it, you need to implement it effectively, and you need to maintain it on an ongoing basis. And I really want people to think about this, not just as a quick decision, not just as something that you throw out there, but as a significant part of your business and something that you have to treat appropriately. And in today's world where we have so many options, where it's so easy for a customer to go somewhere else, I am a firm believer that what we have seen over the last 8 years is that a well-implemented loyalty program, a well-maintained program, will generate an additional 8 to 12% in increase in the business. And again, it's from more people, your same customers coming in with greater frequency, buying more product, and a differentiation from the guy across the street or down the street. And in particular, the new cigarette tobacco program, I think, is going to be an even bigger differentiator, and something that folks that don't get behind that are going to pay a penalty for in loss of business. My
Mark,
last comment.
how do we, just quickly, how do you staff this loyalty program? I mean, it seems like there's a lot of moving parts. Is it a full-time person that you need to execute it correctly? Divide it up across roles within the company? What's best practice there?
Well, and I think it depends on the size of the company. I mean, if you have a marketing person that's doing marketing for the stores, it's going to fall quite a bit under that person, as well as a potential director of operations. So, the person who's dealing with your vendors, they're going to be an integral part of it. The person that's dealing with, operations of the store is going to be the second person. And if you have anybody that's doing anything for marketing, social media, website, they're going to have a little bit of involvement. Or if you have a third party that does that for you, you'll want to bring them in on it. I think it's a commitment of time initially that requires dedicated time and effort. I think after you have it up and running, then it could be as little as 5 hours a week. It depends on the number of stores, the number of promotions. Similar, again, not to pitch us, but we do this project for our clients just like we would do a back office software. So if it's something that you want to bring in a consulting team and have them help you and manage the project and do the heavy lifting, you can do that. And I'm sure we're not the only folks that do that. Or if you have the bandwidth in-house, you can certainly do it in-house. Again, it's upfront planning wise. Yes, there's a chunk of time committed there, getting it up and running. Afterwards, I think it's more maintenance. It could be as little as 5 hours a week.
Okay, yeah, thanks. And I think I interrupted you on your final closing comment.
Yeah, you don't have to do everything on day one. Again, I'll do that comparison with a back office software. You can implement in steps. If you want to start off with cigarette tobacco loyalty offering, start there, take advantage of that, get your feet wet. If you then want to start rolling in some clubs and some promotions, you can do it step by step. The only downside to that is, sometimes you don't get a second or a third chance to catch people's attention. But if done right, you will. So again, you don't have to jump in the deep end of the pool. You can take this in 2 or 3 steps and see significant value from it.
Well, sounds good. Thank you so much, Mark, for sharing this playbook here. A good outline for somebody to follow when rolling out and implementing a loyalty program. And I love your emphasis on planning, doing the hard work up front is going to get us on the right direction.
One last thing? I'm sorry. One last thing. And that is, if you already have a program in place, there's nothing wrong with revisiting it, looking what's working well. You can relaunch it. Similar to what Mike said about rebranding, you can relaunch a loyalty program. So if you're not satisfied with where you're at, you've made the investment, you just don't think you're getting the return on it, look at relaunching it, rebrand it, redo it, and you can still achieve a very successful program. Don't be turned off if you didn't get what you wanted the first time around. Sorry, Ted.
That's really good comment. And Mike Lawshe, I'm just curious, in this loyalty program, any comments you had after listening to Mark and your experience, maybe perhaps as it ties into brand?
One of the things I heard, Jed, is it's really a parallel path to what I was talking about. And I really do think that you can sum up both presentations with the word relevant. They both are talking about relevance to the consumer, relevance to your customer, and staying relevant, which means continuously upgrading and updating. So the word of the day is relevant. Be relevant, and you will be rewarded.
Well, Well, it's a very good note to end on. Again, we'll send out these slides to everybody, but if you have any follow-up questions, would like to go deeper, we'll have Mike and Mark contact information in the when we send out the slide deck. I know they'd be very happy to have a one-on-one conversation with you and talk more, answer any questions you have. Hope you found this to be educational, and look forward to talking with you next time. Goodbye.
Thank you, Jed. Thank you, everybody.